Okay, so now we need to learn how to force a side. And so this can be used either way, where if you want to force to the weak side from the strong side, you can absolutely do that. But I'm going to be focusing more on showing you guys how to go from the weak side to the strong side. And so this gets harder to do the further our opponent manages to drive over to the weak side, naturally because they get closer to where they want to be to escape. So back control always creates like a dilemma for us, and it's not really actually a dilemma, but where you struggle with the idea of when to let go, because we get really greedy in back control. And so you can either wait till it's too late or wait till it's very at the end and make life a bit harder or a lot harder for yourself, or by just choosing to let go of certain controls to be able to generate base and move your hips, your ability to change angles and stay on top and choose what side you're fighting on becomes a hell of a lot easier. And part of that comes with obviously confidence of just knowing what you can let go of and how you can control without, say, the hooks. So here, if I'm getting driven over from the strong side to the weak side, what I would prefer is not to have Kevin's hip all the way onto the left side of his body. What I would want to do, because there's always going to be one side on the ground. Here, strong side, right hip, weak side, left hip. As your opponent starts to manage to drive back up on top of you, as his hips start to face up to the sky, I am not blocked on this side of my body yet, and it's going to be much easier for me to adjust my angle. So, as I'm here, on the strong side, and Kevin starts to move, I immediately feel like he's generating base. Kevin has better base than me here. This is one of the things of back control that can cause us problems at the beginning. My legs are hooked against Kevin, and while I can generate base against Kevin, the only meaningful base I really have is on my elbow right now. Kevin has the ability to plant his feet into the ground and really raise his hips and drive into me. And so, while I do have the advantageous position, the dominant spot, he can still choose to move, and if I don't know how to react, it's going to be a pain in the ass. So as soon as Kevin starts to drive, I have to put my foot in the base. As I'm doing this, I am going to be increasing how much I'm pinching down, curling down with my leg here to make sure that I'm making up for the difference that I no longer have both legs controlling. And I'm not posting my leg way out here so that there's space. I am just bringing my leg here, I'm closing my knee against Kevin's hip, so I'm still boxing him in as much as I can. And I'm posting my foot roughly at a 45-degree angle so that I'm able to absorb the force and drive directly back into him. If I just go like this, with my knee straight up, he's just going to drive backwards, crash into it, and my knee just ends up folding the other side, and now it gets stuck underneath him. Everything goes to hell real fast. So, as I'm here, and Kevin starts to drive, I plant my foot, I generate base, and now as he keeps driving into me, I can absorb that, and I can look to start bringing him back. So now this leg is going to engage a bit more, and I'm going to start to curl and push downwards to drive him back down that direction and build back up into base. If we wait till the very end, and we're on this side, or whether because I already wanted the weak side and I found that he's just really good at defending it, I want to be able to get out of this position, what we're looking at doing, controlling head position the whole time, I'm going to take this foot out, and I'm going to look to start planting it on the mat here. I need to start generating base. I'm going to try and create a hip angle here by putting this foot into base, curling this into his hip to access the right side of his body to try and pull him already to that side. See how I can start to generate enough force that this knee starts to lift as well because I'm naturally turning his hips a little more up to the sky. This is going to help relieve the pressure so that I'm going to be able to start creating the angle that I want. Here, I start bringing my knee up first, pinching it into his ribs, trying to close to his hips as much as possible while this leg is engaging. You can also be stepping up here sometimes if you want to, but here is going to be the better control, harder for him to get rid of it. And I'm looking to just shift him up on top, and then rather than pull him across, I'm just hipping out to the side. So don't think about, like you'll be able to do it, but don't think about trying to move your opponent the whole direction. You're just looking to move your opponent up and then fill that space by hipping underneath him. So here, I need base. I can't really move him from here. You may be able to take this foot and post it on his hip and be able, or even access this lever and be able to rotate him like this. That's the power of lever-based rotational control. I can get movement to happen much easier, but depending on how he's posted his feet, it's not going to work. So I need to make sure that I'm controlling his hip, taking this foot off. Because if I take both feet off, or if I don't have really good control here, Kevin's going to just move his foot or his hips over top of my leg and he's gone. So as I'm here, this leg hooks. And if you're really tall, you can reach all the way through and even have your toes starting to engage like a twister hook against your opponent's calf. Here, drop this off so that if Kevin tries to lift his hips over me right now, the second he moves his hips, I go. If Kevin starts moving his hips and I'm just like, well, I'm squeezing, he's going to get through. His hips become free. He needs to start lifting his hips a little bit to become mobile, so as soon as he starts to lift, I'm going underneath that space, recomposing my angle, building up onto my elbow. So one time just from the far side. So here, I don't like this. I take the foot off. I hip across. Right here, I hip out one more time if I need to. And I build up onto my elbow, and then I bring my other hook in. So use this, especially at the beginning, when you end up on the weak side. That's primarily where your opponent's going to want to be to escape. Use this to reset the position and bring them to the strong side.